Welcome to Intuitive Transformations with your host, Sylvia Henderson, and discover tools, wisdom, and inspiration that will empower you to transform your life. Sylvia is an intuitive life coach and energy healer with a growing practice that is focused on empowering others to be more of who they want to be. For the next hour, join Sylvia and explore and unravel anything in the way of you creating the life that you would love to live on the OMTimes Radio Network.
Good evening and welcome to the Intuitive Transformations Radio Show with Sylvia Henderson, where you will find tools you can use to transform your life. I'm delighted to have you here with me this evening. I'm Sylvia, your host, and you will find me here on IOM FM every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And in case you haven't noticed, 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. arrived a little bit earlier for us today because it's daylight savings time. So be sure to remember, if you haven't already, to turn your clocks forward by 1 hour today if you haven't done it. Or guess what? You're going to be late for work, or you're going to be late for school, or wherever it is that you have to be tomorrow morning. And that's just not going to be fun. So even though we lose an hour of sleep because we have to turn our clocks forward by an hour, the gift in all of this, because there's always a gift, the gift in all of this is that spring, beautiful, green, luscious, warm spring is right around the corner on March 20th. And I know that this is outstanding news for my friends on the East Coast, who I know are looking forward to their temperatures warming up as soon as they possibly can, because they've been dealing with some really bitter cold there. And today is March 8th, and it's International Women's Day. So happy International Women's Day, everyone. If you're wondering what International Women's Day is, well, let me tell you. It originally started back in 1911. It's been around for a very, very long time. And this is the day that we celebrate on a global level. This is not just exclusive to one country. This is around the globe. This is celebrated. And it's to celebrate the economic, political, and social achievements of women from the past, the present, and to support women moving forward into the future. And in some countries, like in China, for instance, in Russia, in Vietnam, and also in Bulgaria, International Women's Day actually is a national holiday for them. So to all of my female sisters on the planet, no matter your ethnicity, your color of your skin, your nationality, or your religion, this is our special day as women. This is the day that the whole world, literally the whole world, celebrates that we as women have contributed in the past, that we do contribute now, and that we certainly will continue to contribute in the future. And this is also a great opportunity to focus on creating more equality between men and women around the world in all countries. So happy International Women's Day. And also, one other thing I want to bring to light is that yesterday, March 7th, was the 50th anniversary of the 1965 Civil Rights Movement's march across the Edmund Pettus Bridge from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama. Now, this was during a time when it was incredibly turbulent. For those of you who are maybe listening from another country, here in the U.S. During the Civil Rights Movement, when Martin Luther King was alive, and there's a movie that was recently released that's entitled Selma, that depicted this very crossing of the bridge, which was later coined as Bloody Sunday. So if you have not yet seen the movie, while I would not recommend it for children, I encourage you to go and see it. If the movie's not available where you may live, then I invite you to visit the website that's commemorating this event. And the website is, here's just one of them. The website I found information that I really thought was very thorough is dreammarcheson.com. So you know how Martin Luther King said he had a dream. This is about that, and it's called dreammarcheson.com. And there you will be able to find more information. They'll have some photos, and you can read all about that poignant moment of time in 1965. That was 50 years ago, folks, 50 years ago. Wow. Because what happened in Selma is a part of American history, and we need to know where we have been in order to understand ourselves and to know where we are going as a country. So before I get started on tonight's topic, if this is your first time tuning into the Intuitive Transformations radio show and you're wondering, well, who is she? Who is Sylvia? Let me introduce myself. I'm an intuitive life coach, and I'm also a practicing energy healer. I specialize in stress relief and stress reduction. Why? Because that's pretty much what causes most of the problems in people's lives. I'm clairvoyant, I'm clairaudient, and I'm also empathic, which allows me, these gifts allow me to really get to the root cause of whatever it is that is stressful for you in your life. I help people identify what is blocking or holding them back in their lives, and then after we discover that, I help them release and remove it so that it doesn't become an issue for them anymore. You see, my point of view is that we create our reality, and that the reality we experience in our lives is only the result of our beliefs, our perceptions, and our emotional judgments. And trust me, when we change our beliefs, both on a conscious and a subconscious level, our whole life changes and literally improves. It's pretty magical. If you'd like more information about what I do, please feel free to visit my website at intuitivetransformations.net. And there you can follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. And I want to give a big shout out to my girlfriend, Kristen Wisham, for helping me in that area, and her mom, Metri. And you can also send me an email at sylvia@intuitivetransformations.net. That's another way you can contact me, or just fill out a contact form. Whatever works best for you is fine with me. Now, if you happen to have listened to last week's show, I made a couple of promises. And so what I've done is I've kind of melded them into one thing. I mentioned that I was going to do live healings on the show, and so I've kind of tweaked that a little bit. It's going to be a little different. And I also mentioned that I was creating a Facebook group exclusively for the listeners of Intuitive Transformations on OMTimes Radio. And the reason for this Facebook group is so that we can build a social community. Not a social community that's just for the sake of having a social community, but actually one that communicates. And I thought that the Facebook group pages were a perfect venue for you all to share your thoughts and suggestions for the show, so that you and I can interact with one another, and that you can interact with me directly. So I'm really, really excited about this. There are a few rules, though, like keeping the quality of the post respectful and in alignment with the whole purpose of this radio show, which is to empower and encourage others. So it's a bully-free zone. This is a safe space for people to get together, for them to learn, for them to find some tools that they can use to enhance their lives, and for you to give me some ideas of what you'd like me to talk about on the show. I do have some wonderful guests that are going to be coming on my show in the very near future. But, when it's just you and I'd like to know, what is important to you? What would you like me to talk about? There will be a time in the future where we'll have an opportunity and a means for listeners to call in and talk to me directly, ask questions. I'll be doing miniature intuitive readings at that time, helping people through their problems. But until then, we have this fantastic new Facebook group that I put together. So there will be some moderating involved, but it's basically going to be an open forum group. And I want you to know, again, I am so excited because it's done. That is done. I finally did it. It's a brand new group, so there's only me and one other person I think that's in there right now. So I invite you, I encourage you, kind of implore you in a sense to be one of the first to join in. And so I've got some goodies set aside that might entice you to just go ahead and even bop over there right now. So if you have a Facebook page, then all you have to do is just go to facebook.com/groups/transformational radio. The name of the group is Transformational Radio. And so if you go to facebook.com/groups/transformational radio, the artwork for this show should pop up. It should say Intuitive Transformations Radio Show with Sylvia Henderson. You'll know you're in the right place. Click on the join button and you are in. And as I mentioned briefly, there's some goodies. I have some enticements. I have some nuggets that you might want to, that might encourage you to go over there even right now. There's a couple of files I put in there, and one of them is called the Faster EFT Tapping Process. And that is something that I went briefly over last week, and we didn't have that much time, and I'm going to go over in more depth here this evening. And so you may want to bop over to that Facebook page as we're getting ready to go into a break. Again, it's facebook.com/group/transformational radio. Go there, get that tapping guide, and come right back. Talk to you in a moment.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Join Elliot Jolish, the business therapist, each Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern for the Elliot Jolish Hour, as he interviews business experts on your behalf. And you're invited to email your business questions to questions@ecjgroup.com for answers, live, on air every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on the Elliot Jolish Hour.
The Conscious Parenting Radio Show provides inspiration and resources for loving, empowering, and respecting your children and yourself. Join me, Timothy, every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we consciously explore proven ways of living together in happiness, health, and harmony.
As difficult as it is to believe, there are places in Africa where human traffickers sell albino children and their body parts for use in magic rituals. Humanity Healing International is actively working in Uganda to change this paradigm. The Albino Rescue Project finds albino children who are at risk and places them in safe schools and environments where they can learn and grow free from fear. To learn more or to sponsor a child, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes.
Welcome back. You're listening to Intuitive Transformations Radio with Sylvia Henderson on IOM FM. And before the break, I asked everyone if they had the time, if they could bop over to that brand new Facebook group called Transformational Radio, because in that group, once you join, you can access the files, and there's a file in there called Faster EFT Tapping Process or Tapping Guide. And that's something that you'll find very handy as I continue to move through the show this evening. So let's jump into tonight's topic right away, which is how to lower your stress within minutes. This is something that I share in the community here in Seattle. It's a great resource. I'm going to share some tools, some tips. I'm going to talk a little bit about what stress is and, and how do you get rid of it? I mean, everybody, I think, knows what they feel when they're stressed, but I don't think everybody really knows what it is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So the focus of my practice, the work I do, is all about stress relief, and there's a reason for that. There's this saying that I found online, and it's, if stress burned calories, I'd be a supermodel, which I wish stress burned calories. I would be so thin and I wouldn't have to squeeze into my jeans on a regular basis. I am one of those individuals that has had probably more stress than the average Joe. I have to say, I was raised in a home that there was a lot of physical abuse, and my dad was an alcoholic, and I've had some really big traumas in the past. So as a child, I was very anxious. I had a lot of anxiety because I really didn't feel comfortable in my skin. You know, I was always in reaction mode. I later became the mom of two sons with autism, and that was very stressful. I had to place them in a group home. Again, very, very stressful. When I was married, my ex and I lost a tremendous amount of money. It changed our lifestyle to a degree. And I divorced at 52 without a job. And then I actually was bedridden for about 6 weeks after the divorce. I was like, are you kidding me, God? I mean, the stress was palpable for me. I was overwhelmed. I was having panic attacks, literally driving myself to the ER thinking I was having a heart attack. Stress drove my life. And so the tool I'm going to be sharing with you that I'm going to focus on, I'll share a couple of tools, but the one I'm really going to focus on is what I used to help get me out of the chronic state of stress that I lived in on a regular basis that accumulated in my life over time. So first, let's talk about what stress is. Stress, in its clearest sense, in terms of how to define it succinctly, stress is the perception that I am not safe. That's basically what it is. If you were to search for a definition on the internet, you'd probably come up with something like stress is your body's physiological response to your mental and emotional interpretation of a past, present, or future experience. You know, but just to cut it down and just be very basic about it, it's really when you don't feel safe. There are two types of stress. There's the healthy stress that we are all actually, stress is something that we were wired with in order to protect us so that we could react very quickly when we were facing some form of danger. So say, for instance, you were walking through the woods and you came across a big bear. That's very common up here in the Northwest. I mean, it's not common you see bears, but brown bears live up here. And so your body would automatically go into one of three responses without you even consciously thinking about it. It's just such an automatic response. It would go into fight, flight, or freeze. This is what we call acute stress. This is the kind of stress that is designed to be so that you can react right away, so that you can either run and get the heck up out of there, or, you know, if it's not a big bear, it's something else, you can fight it off and hopefully survive, or you would just stand still frozen so that you wouldn't be seen or eaten by something. So that is what we're kind of hardwired with, this fight or flight response. That is a symptom of our neurology thinking that we're in danger. And here's what else happens during that fight or flight response. There's a there's chemicals and hormones that are released. The adrenals start pumping out more cortisol. Your heart rate starts to go up and beat faster. You know how your heart starts beating out of your chest when you're scared or very stressed out or very fearful. The blood vessels start to dilate. Your breathing becomes more shallow and faster. Your sweat production increases. Have you ever seen anybody who's nervous or stressed out? They start sweating more profusely. Your metabolism slows down, which is why so many people have such a hard time losing weight. It's because they're stuck in that fight or flight response, that stress response, and so their metabolism is literally slowed down because they're not in the acute stress, that urgent stress. They're more in chronic stress. Your digestion slows down, again contributing to the extra pounds. Your muscles become tense because you've got to be able to run, and so your muscles tighten up so they're charged and ready to go or fight. Your pupils enlarge so that you have a better range of motion. And they've also found that chronic stress lowers your sex hormone production. And think about all the people that are now having difficulties having children and having to use alternative fertility options because it's difficult to conceive. A lot of that is because as a society, we are really just in a constant state of fight or flight. And stress and fear are synonymous. And it's stimulated by this little almond-shaped gray matter in the limbic system of the brain called the amygdala. And this is what plays a major role in identifying when we're not safe. It's, like I said, it's not a conscious, it's part of the autonomic nervous system. It's part of your central nervous system. The problem with this is that in our society, in our life, we see bears every single day. Our bear might be our bank account. Our bear might be our boss. Our bear might be a broken relationship or a challenging relationship. A bear might be a situation where you've been embarrassed. A bear might be that you feel lonely, that you're experiencing a lot of loneliness or grief. A bear that you might experience is worrying about somebody in your family, your children, your mom, your dad, especially with the sandwich generation where parents have children and then they're also taking care of their aging adult parents as well. The environment you're in, the news, the media, how stressful is that today with everything that's going on in the world? And so we're being bombarded by all of these circumstances that are triggering this fight, flight, freeze response, this stress response. And this is the chronic stress that doesn't turn off, that everyone says it's not good for you, it's not healthy. And we all know that, but then we're like, well, what do we do? What do you do to turn it off? How do you get out of this? And so what a lot of people have done is they've opted for medications. I know so many people that are taking anti-anxiety medications, and there's nothing wrong with that. I confess, I've done that myself in the past. But for me, it just didn't really seem to resolve it. And actually, I think there was, I can't remember if it was Newsweek or Time magazine, but there was one of those publications several years ago had on the cover that those anti-anxiety medications, they're not very effective. It's nice to take something, but they're not really getting us out of not feeling good about what's going on in our life. We're still anxious. I've had many clients come sit in my chair and they're on anti-anxiety medications, but their stress is still overwhelming them. So it's not really solving the problem. So let's talk about what creates stress, because that's what people, I know I don't like that situation and now I'm stressed about it. stress really is just your mental and your emotional interpretation. It's your mental and your emotional interpretation of an event. And let me prove this point. So I think I may have shared this story on an earlier show. I can't recall. But there's this story, I share it often, and I call it the story of the surly waitress. When I say surly, it's someone who's rude, someone who's kind of indignant, someone who doesn't want to really be serving you as their waitress, basically, not in a good mood. And so we have this surly waitress who's working in a restaurant, and we have two patrons come into the restaurant when she's working. Both patrons are seated. Both patrons are gifted with the gift of the surly waitress. So the waitress comes over to one, table A, and she's rude. She's hardly looking at the patron. The customer's trying to ask a question, and she's giving very short, indirect answers. She's being abrupt. You could just tell she doesn't want to wait on this person. So the waitress walks away, and customer A would probably most likely be sitting there going, "Oh my God, I cannot believe this woman. She is so rude. How is it that she even has a job here? This is not okay. There is no excuse for this. As a matter of fact, as soon as I am done eating, I'm going to report her to her manager. I hope they fire her. She doesn't deserve to work here. She's pulling down business." I mean, just this whole story about how horrible this person is. Customer B has the same exact experience with the surly waitress. However, their response is completely different. They look at this waitress, she walks away, and go, "Wow, she must be really having a bad day. Wow, for all I know, her child could be sick. I know that waitresses don't make very much money. Maybe she's having a hard time making her rent. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave her a big, fat, juicy tip and see if that doesn't make her day." Now, here's the thing. Two different customers had the same experience, but two different point of views of the same experience. So because everyone's experience is unique and everyone's perception is unique, everyone's stressors are unique. But the thing is, customer A was very stressed out and angry about it. Customer B was doing the Good Samaritan thing. Something to think about. When we return, I'm going to go a little bit further into what stress is and how to resolve it, and then I'm going to teach you how to use faster EFT. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few moments.
The cutting edge of conscious radio, OMTimes Radio, IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you bought into the idea that you have to work hard for your money, that business is hard? I will share some dynamic access consciousness tools to get you out of your own way so you can create a business that actually succeeds. Join me, Simone Millisers, on The Joy of Business at 4 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Hi, this is Angela Levesque, host of Entanglement Radio. Join me Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern for inspiring conversations with visionaries in spiritual science and conscious healing. Entanglement Radio, Wednesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern. Transcendent talk for the conscious mind.
What if business could be fun? What if business is the adventure of living? What are you choosing? Where do you do business that makes it easier, more fun, or more joyful for you? We'd love to see where you do business. Connect with us on Instagram at Joy of Business or Twitter at Joy of Business. And share your pictures with hashtags BusinessDoneWhere and Joy of Business. Let's change the world with business. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. You're listening to Intuitive Transformations Radio on IOM FM with Sylvia Henderson. Before the break, we were talking about the surly waitress and perceptions and how perceptions create stress in your life. So I also mentioned earlier in the show that we have this great Facebook group that I just created for our listeners here, facebook.com/group/transformational radio. Go to the file, join that group, and then check out the files. There is a faster EFT tapping guide for you there that you will want to use, because we're going to talk about how to use that, how you can lower your stress, how it can help you deal with loss and grief, how it can really just transform your life all the way around. It's pretty effective. So I was giving the example of a waitress that was rude and two different point of views before we went into the break. And I had shared prior to that it really is your mental and your emotional interpretations of an experience that creates stress. So it's not the problem itself. The waitress, the problem was consistent. The stress was inconsistent. Who was stressed and who wasn't. So what this, I hope, will tell you, or I hope you will be able to see this, is that your outer world is simply a reflection of your inner world. So the customer A probably had some judgments already going on about how they felt they should be treated, and that how they were treated was an indication of who they thought they were. Whereas customer B didn't take it so personal. It wasn't a personal attack to that customer. They felt good enough about themselves that they could look at the waitress and see that it was her problem and not theirs. That changes everything. So these are called judgments. These are the beliefs we have. These are the things. This is the fodder. This is the groundswell that starts to create our experiences in our lives, is what we believe to be true. And we learn these judgments of whether or not it's about us or whether it's about someone else from our life experiences from the past. We watch mommy and daddy and how they do relationships, and we base that information. We take that information and we absorb it within ourselves. And not to put any guilt or blame on mommy and daddy, it's far deeper than that. It's all of the relationships, everything that we experience creates a sense of whether or not it's all about us as something is we're being attacked, or it's all about someone else's life being more challenging. And a lot of these beliefs, you're not even consciously aware of. They're stored within the recesses of our subconscious mind, which is about 90% of your awareness. 90% of your mind that you're not aware of. Your conscious mind makes up 10% of your mind. And that is what you know. That's what you're aware of. That's what you know is true. The customer A, they may not even know why they got upset as they did. Yes, she was rude. Yes, it's inappropriate to be rude in a place of business. But they were not able to see that it wasn't about them. It could have been about them. I don't know, but it was pretty consistent across both customers. So when you're in a stressful situation like that, you can get angry. You can get upset. You can be stressful and lose sleep over it and think about it over and over and over again as if it's still happening when it's not. Or you can do something about it. And that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. No matter what you're experiencing that's stressful in your life, there are options. If you're already taking medication, you're already working with a physician, this is not about you just dropping your medication. That's something you and your physician have to work out together. But this can definitely work as an adjunct. This can actually be an add-on to whatever it is that you're currently using. And I don't know how many of you listening have ever heard of EFT, which is Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a form of tapping on the meridians. This process is a little different. It's called faster EFT, which is faster emotionally focused transformation. It's a combination of Ericksonian hypnosis, of neurolinguistic programming, and meridian tapping. And when I say hypnosis, Now, I'm a hypnotherapist. A lot of people are confused about what hypnosis is because they've only seen stage hypnosis. They've seen people on the stage bring someone up and it's a magic act and they put them under and they float their body and all of that good stuff and everybody applauds. That is a form of hypnosis. That's not the hypnosis I'm speaking of. I'm talking about Ericksonian hypnosis, which is something that you go in and out of almost every single day. Have you ever driven home and arrived there and forgotten the entire drive home? Just known that you got in your car, barely remember getting in your car, you just remember getting out of your car and you're home, then you were in a hypnotic trance. You were actually in a hypnotic state. Have you ever read a book? I should say. Have you ever read a book and gotten so engrossed in it that the time just slipped away and you looked up and before you knew it, hours had passed and you didn't even realize it? You were in a hypnotic state. If you've ever been so engrossed in a movie where you feel like you are a character within that movie, you got so pulled in, then you were in a hypnotic state. So we go in and out of these hypnotic trances very, very often. We're in a hypnotic state more often than not. Anytime you think about something that's happened in the past and you revisit it and you relive it as if it's actually happening when it isn't, then you are in a hypnotic state. So we utilize that aspect when we're using Faster EFT. The other thing we use is we focus on is neuro-linguistic programming. So if you're not familiar with that, I'm sure you've heard of a gentleman by the name of Tony Robbins. Well, he's a big neuro-linguistic programming guy, or what they like to call a big NLP guy. And neuro-linguistic program was developed by a gentleman by the name of Richard Bandler years ago. And the neural is basically how you think, how your thought process are. It has to do with neurology. So it's how you think, not how Sylvia thinks, not how Joe thinks, not how Susie thinks, how you think, because how you think is different than how your spouse might think or your children might think or your boss might think. Everybody has their own way of looking at life. Everybody has their own perception, like the two customers. So what is your perception, your particular perception? And then the second thing, second component of neurolinguistic programming is the linguistics part, which is language. So what do you say to yourself? What kind of internal conversations do you have with yourself? We all have internal dialogue going on in our head. Usually it's pretty negative. It's usually something like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or, oh, I should have done that. Or, oh, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. Or, oh my God, I wish I hadn't have said that. Or you're just kind of revisiting in your head like an argument that happened a week ago or I don't know, a day ago, a week ago, a month ago, even 6 months ago. And so what is your internal dialogue? What are you telling yourself about the situation? And then the programming aspect of it is, what are your belief systems that are stored and locked away in your subconscious mind? You might be thinking, well, Sylvia, if they're stored and locked away, how am I going to know that? Trust me, the way this process works, it's like opening the hatch door of your subconscious mind and allowing the information that's stored there to come forth so that it can be released. The third aspect of it, which is what it has in common with emotional freedom technique, is the meridian tapping. And so in Chinese medicine, they developed this meridian system, which is what acupuncturists use to locate the puncture sites, or the subos, where they're going to insert their acupuncture needles. I'm sure everyone listening has heard of an acupuncturist before and know that it has to do with inserting needles in the body. Well, the acupuncturist has been highly trained to find these specific points that run in these lines that are called meridians. And what we do in Faster EFT and also in EFT is we tap on these meridians. The reason we tap on these meridians is that in Chinese medicine, all these meridians are associated with certain specific organs in the body. And in Chinese medicine, all of those organs in the body are associated with specific emotions as well. For instance, the liver meridian, or the liver itself, is associated with the emotion of anger. The lungs are associated with grief. The stomach is associated with worry or sadness. The heart and the brain is just associated with stress. And the kidneys are associated with fear. So if you haven't already gone over to the Transformational Radio Show Facebook group page, it's facebook.com/group/transformational radio. If you haven't had a chance to grab that tapping guide, now is the time. Or you can just listen to this show later when it's in the archives or when it does its rotation this week. But you'll want to go to that Facebook group, join it, so that you can get this faster EFT tapping process, because it spells it out very clearly what you do now. Now that I've explained this to you, what faster EFT is, it's a combination of these three things: hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming or NLP, as well as meridian tapping. Now on the guide, there are little red dots on the gentleman's face whose picture is here. And those dots indicate exactly where you're going to be tapping. And here's how faster EFT works. You're in a stressful situation. You're feeling anxious about something, or even angry about something, or sad about something, whatever it is. You notice what you're feeling. You become aware of it. I'm really feeling sad. How sad am I feeling? I ask myself that because I want to give myself a range. And the range is between 0 and 10. And if it's a 10, then it's like I'm really feeling sad. If it's 0, I'm not really sad. No, I'm not sad at all, actually. So you want to find out, first of all, where you lie in that range before you start tapping. Once you identify that, then notice what else you're feeling. Are you feeling any tightness in your body? Are you thinking about something that happened in the past? And then with Faster EFT, what we do, we really want you to think about that as if it's happening now. That's that hypnosis part. Getting you into that state of mind, feeling it, feeling that sadness in a very big and visceral way, making it even bigger than it is. And you might go, well, why would I want to do that? Because once you start the tapping process, it actually dissolves it. It's pretty amazing. So whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever images, any sounds, anything someone has said, some sensation in your body, that's the first thing you want to do in this process, is notice that. And we're going to go into another break. I have 6 more things, 6 more steps to talk about here with this tapping guide and how to use Faster EFT. And we're going to return in a moment, just a few minutes. And when we return, I'm going to give you the rest of those steps. So don't go away. Stay tuned. Come back. Get that tapping guide off of that Facebook group page.
The best of holistic, spiritual, and conscious world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Katrina Kavanagh, host of the I Am Wisdom radio show. I Am Wisdom is about the connection between mind work and energy work, spirituality, and living a wonderful life. Looking forward to sharing each Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with you.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back. This is Intuitive Transformations with Sylvia Henderson, and I have been going through the faster EFT tapping process with you all. I encourage you again, go to that Facebook group. It's facebook.com/group/transformational radio so that you can get your copy of this faster EFT tapping process. Also, you'll be able to get a free miniature reading, a very short reading or clearing on whatever it is that you're working on. It's a process that's completely different than what we're talking about here. This is solely for stress tonight. The other work I do transcends that, but this is a tool that you can use, and this show is all about empowering you so that you can have the life that you would love to live. So we've gone over step one, which is noticing how you know what you're feeling, any sensations in your body, what you're thinking about, that internal dialogue, what's going on that's upsetting you. Give it a number rating, 0 to 10. Hopefully it's a 10, because honestly, the bigger it is, the faster you can collapse it and it'll dissolve. So you start tapping on each point. The points are on the inside of the eyebrow, on the side of the eye, underneath the eye, on the collarbone, just beneath the collarbone there, and then you grab your wrist. Take one hand, and grab your wrist, the wrist of the other arm. And it's so simple. You just start tapping on these points, and every point you say something as easy as, let it go. Whatever this feeling is, I'm going to let it go. It's safe to let go of this anger. It's okay to let go of this sadness. I just want to let it go. Or you can just say, let it go through the whole thing. After you've tapped on the inside of the eyebrow, on the side of the eye, underneath the eye, at the collarbone, and it's important you look at the guide so you'll see exactly where those points are, and you grab your wrist, you hold it basically, you take a deep breath in, and you let it out, and you say peace. And then recall a happy memory. What I tell clients is if they don't have a happy memory, because some people, they don't, then I suggest that they think of a beautiful blue sky on a nice, warm, sunny day. That tends to work as well. And then you recheck your problem. And you might go, Sylvia, that sounds so simple. Trust me, it really does work. And as a matter of fact, I think what I want to do is maybe even create a video and put that on the Facebook group too, so that I can walk you through this process. Now, how do I know this works? I have seen this, well, first of all, it's worked tremendously for me. I have been able to heal something that it would have taken, I'm sure, decades, a couple of decades of counseling and serious therapy to resolve. I have had clients come in that have had a dear loved one suddenly die, and they'll come in like, I've had a client come in like 2 weeks after losing a spouse, and we were able to use this process, and it was magical for her. I've had a client come in who witnessed her best friend dying, and we were able to resolve a trauma that she had been holding on to for many, many years with this process. I have seen it work with children. I have seen it work with the elderly. I had a client come in to my office who was 87 years old. She was the sweetest thing. And she came in, she sat down in my chair, and I said, what would you like to work on? And she said, I just think I am the worst person on the planet. And we started working on some of her stuff, and I tell ya, she was so cute. She said, I didn't think this was going to work, but it really does. It's like anything else. If you do it, it will work. I wish that there was a way that I could walk each and every one of you through this personally. That's another reason we have this Facebook page, this group. That way you can come in and ask questions and and get more information about this. I can point you to some videos. I can even create a video for the group. So that's just one of the things that you can use for your stress. Something else that's very practical is to focus on some stress relief techniques that involve the breath. Of course, everyone knows meditation's wonderful for stress, but if you're already so stressed out that you can't even sit still and quiet your mind enough to focus on your breath, that's really not going to work, right? So here are a couple of techniques that you can use. These are also in the file section of that Facebook group page, and these are called stress relief techniques. And the first one is a 5-minute breath break. If you're having a really stressful situation, or even, I don't know if this will work so much for anger, but this will definitely help with anxiety and stress. You find a comfortable place to sit, and you sit with both feet flat on the ground, and then you close your eyes. And pay attention to your breathing pattern. We're shallow breathers by nature, especially here in the United States. So this is really about allowing yourself to bring your breath down deep into your diaphragm, into your abdomen. So you're doing abdominal breathing, not chest breathing. And just pay attention to your breathing pattern, allowing it to come in and out. And if you want to follow along with me here on the radio, you're welcome to join me. Breathe in through your nose to the count of 4, and then you're going to hold your breath for the count of 2, and then you're going to breathe out of your mouth to the count of 6, exhaling with sound. And so I'm just going to walk you through what that rhythm might be one time before I move to the next exercise. And so it's breathing in through the nose, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about that pace, okay? You can also breathe in to the count of 4 and exhale to the count of 8 without the hold of 2, if that makes you feel more comfortable. And if you do that enough times, you'll find yourself becoming calmer and calmer, because I think one of the things I mentioned in terms of what is the stress response is that your respiration increased. And if I missed that, then I apologize. But that's one of the things that happens. Your heart rate increases, and so does your breathing pattern. It increases when you're stressed. It changes. If you focus on calming the breath, what it does is it creates a physiological response, and it calms down your central nervous system. It takes you out of sympathetic mode, which is that fight or flight response, and it pulls you into a parasympathetic mode, which is peace and calm. The next thing is simple. I know you've heard of affirmations. Everybody's heard of affirmations. But as I mentioned earlier, that stress is really a belief that you're not safe, that something could go wrong, or that you're feeling under attack. I'm not safe is pretty much what it is. So there's an affirmation that you can use. It's very simple. I am safe and all is well. If you just repeat that silently to yourself over and over again, if you're having a problem sleeping, practice the breath, as well as thinking that thought, I am safe, all is well. With each inhalation and each exhalation, it will completely calm you down. There's something else that I use called mind linking, and that's where you sit in a comfortable position in a chair. You cross your legs at your ankles, and then you cross your wrist, and you clasp your palms together. And I know that you're probably going, how do you do that? Well, when you cross your wrist, you rotate your palms together so that your fingers can interlace. And then if you close your eyes and you practice breathing deeply while doing that and thinking of your problem, now this takes a little longer, within 3 to 10 minutes, the problem won't bother you anymore. And what will happen sometimes, if it's a big, heavy emotional problem, you'll feel more emotional first before it pops, and then it just disappears. The last one is one I called the 10-second calm down. Have you ever heard of a squeeze ball? This is where you take a deep, you're going to make yourself a squeeze ball. So you're going to take a deep breath in, you're going to hold it, and then you're going to tense every single muscle in your body for 10 seconds, super, super tight and hard. And then you're going to relax those muscles as you slowly breathe out and exhale through your mouth with a sigh. That's another beautiful exercise there. So I hope that you have enjoyed our time together, and I really want to encourage you again to join that Facebook group. Get these handouts. Sign up for your free reading and clearing. And as we prepare to go forward into the next week, I want you to know that I'll be here again next Sunday. Next Sunday, I'll be talking about being authentically you, authenticity, being you, not disowning who you are, really standing in your truth. So I thank you so much for joining me this evening. And I really want to encourage you to love yourself, to love life, to embrace the goodness of everything that surrounds you, to know that you are surrounded by divine love, by divine consciousness. Life is working for you in your favor. The universe is here to support you. I'm here to support you. If you have any questions, please contact me. If you're interested in a session, please contact me. My website, intuitivetransformations.net. My email address, sylviahenderson@intuitivetransformations.net. You have been listening to me on OMTimes Radio. I hope you have a truly fantastic evening and a truly fantastic week. Looking forward to spring. Don't forget, get those clocks turned forward. Go to bed early so that you can wake up vibrant and ready to enjoy your day. Take care. Love to you all. Bye.